So welcome everyone. This is Taslima Alam. I'm just hosting the presentation that actually is really the platform for Professor Mohammed Ghosheh, and I wanted to welcome Professor Mohammed to join us today. Thank you so much. Today's talk, it's actually part of a course that I've designed around the sacred sacred sites in Islam. So we start with the Kaaba, Al-Mukarramah, then Medina, and then we feature the Al-Aqsa complex and the Dome of the Rock. And then we do a final tour at Masjid Ibrahim in Hebron, which I didn't know that was where Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi wasallam's grave is actually, along with some of the other prophets. So that was an interesting discovery. So I'm just beginning with this short introduction. Welcome again today to this talk by the esteemed Professor Mohammed Hashim Ghosheh, an award-winning historian talking today from Jerusalem directly. And here you see a side profile of the Dome of the Rock on the left and an aerial view of the mosque. And I have to say, even from a secular point of view, from an art historian point of view, what a fabulous image this is, iconic. So who is Professor Mohammed Hashim Ghosheh? Let's have a look. He was born into the Ghosheh family of Jerusalem with 400 years of lineage in the city, a doctor of philosophy and art historian, a teacher of Islamic art and architecture. He is a multi-award-winning scholar for academic and scientific excellence. The author of Encyclopedia Palestinica, which has currently 24 volumes, and also the author of 70 volumes of work focusing on Jerusalem and Palestine, its heritage and history. He is the youngest historian entered into the Guinness Book of Records at the age of 15 years. The author of The Treasures of Al-Aqsa Mosque, a 3-volume compendium, which is what we will be talking about today. As I said earlier, his bibliography and awards we're listing here. 15 years old, the youngest historian in the Guinness Book of Records. His book was The Glorious Jerusalem Through History. In 1989, he won the OICC Award for Architecture and City Planning at the age of 17, and Abdul Majid Shoman Prize Award for Jerusalem. King Faisal Prize was awarded in 2020, the highest prize for academic excellence in this field. And actually, it's the equivalent of the Nobel Prize, as a professor will be explaining later. The Arab Heritage is a publishing house you set up in 2021. And Al Jazeera describes your work as unprecedented documentation of the history of the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock. So this is a quote from Professor. I was a child younger than 10 years old when I signed my letters to my sister, who was then studying medicine at Cairo University, with the title of historian, and I set my goal from the beginning and succeeded in it despite the obstacles. Professor Mohammed Hashim Ghosheh has paved the way for restoration of the heritage of Jerusalem down to the minutest detail for the future. But today is really about the Treasures of Al-Aqsa. It's a book, and actually I think it's if I'm right to say this, it's actually a lifetime's research by the esteemed Professor Mohammed, and I'm really honored to actually host this talk as well. I'm going to hand that over, and towards the end I'll just talk a little bit about the course that we are this is going to be part of. So if you want to know more and learn more about the art and the design of the Al-Aqsa complex, then that might be of interest to you. But here we go. I think that's the end of my slideshow. And Professor, I'm now going to hand over to you. So you can share screen now. And welcome to everyone who's joined while I was talking away.
Good morning, and thank you very much, Taslima, for your kind words. It's an honor for me to be today with you in this lovely morning from Jerusalem, talking about my journey to Jerusalem and Palestine through my lifetime and my works, the latest works and the previous works of Palestine and Jerusalem. I will start sharing the screen. My latest publications about Jerusalem were the treasures of the Aqsa Mosque, Jerusalem tiles, and the mosaics of the Dome of the Rock. I have published these 3 volumes in last August and in A3 size. So the dimensions are 40 centimeters by 30 centimeters, and they were described as the most beautiful publications on Jerusalem yet published. The content of the 3 volumes are amazing. The printing is wonderful. I will take you now a journey with the 3 volumes to discover the content of the volumes. The first was Jerusalem Tiles, Qashani al-Quds. So the book was published in both languages, Arabic and English. And these are some pictures from the internal of the book. This is the Dome of the Rock on the left side, and the Jerusalem and the Dome of the Rocks tiles, Ottoman tiles on the right side. And in this book, you can see the story of the Ottoman tiles since Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent installed them and replaced the mosaics with the tiles in the middle of the 16th century. And I have also added beautiful images, as you see, for the tiles, and the Arabic inscriptions and the Turkish inscriptions that found in the tiles. As you see, this is from the northern octagon of the door of the Dome of the Rock, describing the renovation of the tiles by the order of Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent. And these are some examples from the windows, outside windows of the Dome of the Rock from the same tiles, 16th century tiles. And these are some samples from the Jerusalem tiles from all over Jerusalem, from the houses, from ceilings, from bedrocks, from the museum, the Dome of the Rock itself. And these are some other examples from the glazed pottery found in Palestine, which also I took these pictures just to show that the tiles or the glazed pottery was found also in Palestine through ages. These are examples from Asqalan, and these from Tiberia and Bisan in Palestine. And these from the left, the right side is from Bisan. It goes back to the 10th century, and the left side from the Dome of the Rock, and it is from the British Museum in London today. And this is a treasure found in Asqalan, also in Palestine, this coastal city north of Gaza. And this is from a Palestinian lady lived in Palestine in the 9th or the 10th century. So these documents can give us great information and further details about the way how they transport the tiles from Istanbul via harbor of Jaffa to Jerusalem. And these documents from the 16th century, as well as the documents I have also inserted the Arabic inscriptions. As you see, these inscriptions gives us a great information about the renovation of the tiles during the period of Sultan Abd al-Hamid I. The inscription can read: قد جدد الملك التقي سلطاننا عبد الحميد ذا الباب والقاشان مع تسقيفها صحن الوطيد بأمين حق عبد صادق حقي محمد مير سعيد سر الحميد مؤرخ تعميره بيتا مجيد. This inscription in Arabic, it says that this tiles were renovated by the order of the Sultan Abd al-Hamid II in the 18th century. Then I start documenting all or every different type of the Jerusalem tiles, such as the inscriptions on the Jerusalem tiles from the 16th and 17th century, and the tiles even from the Nabi Musa tomb in between on the road between Jerusalem and Jericho, from dating to the 19th century. In 1807, and it describes the renovation of the Dome of the Rock and the Aqsa Mosque and the Nabi Musa Shrine by the order of Sultan Mahmud II, Ottoman Sultan. These are some examples that I have documented from every single type or design I found in Jerusalem from the Iznik. Of course, the Ottomans, they were manufactured these tiles in Iznik, and that's why we call it Iznik. And I will go now. After a while, you will see the Armenians, how they improved the Iznik, but they manufactured the Iznik in Kütahya in Turkey. So we call it Kütahya. So these are examples from Iznik from Jerusalem. This is 16th and 17th century. And these are 17th century from the Dome of the Rock, as well as 16th, 17th centuries also. And this is another example from the 19th century on the right side and left side of the entrance of the Dome of the Rock. And these from the houses of Jerusalem in the old city of Jerusalem, some other types that we can see belongs to the Ottoman Empire. Now we are standing in front of the Armenian monastery in the old city of Jerusalem to discover the Armenian tiles inside this convent. If we go inside, we can see all these beautiful and amazing tiles belonging to the Armenian civilization or Armenian tradition or in the convent or in Jerusalem, and all these biblical stories that I have documented and write the stories and the reason of all these pictures in my book. You can find them in the inside of the church. So these are the first time published all these collection, and it was really unique. So you can see this is the pictorial collection of the Armenian tiles in Jerusalem. And according to my friend Robert Check, he is an expert and well-known scholar all over the world, and he published many books about Jerusalem. He told me this is the most beautiful pictures published yet published about this collection. So these we can see, these are examples from the collection from my book. All these are biblical stories, biblical collection, and beautiful and amazing tiles. I'm moving a little bit faster than before, so we can now go to the other collection. And this is a beautiful tile from the kitchen on the top of the arch of the Armenian convent. The second volume from the 3 volumes was the mosaics of the Dome of the Rock. And now we will go. I will take you in a journey to inside this book. This is another amazing book. This is the Dome of the Rock from inside, and in the middle we can distinguish the cave where Prophet Muhammad prayed with the other prophets inside, and from here he traveled into heaven, and then Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj started, and from Jerusalem. So this is you can see that upper drum decorated with golden mosaics, and the mosaics of the Dome of the Rock on the left side is the mosaic, and on the right side is a marble. The mosaics, the importance of this mosaic, it is the oldest mosaic survived from the Islamic civilization, and it is the largest area still alive from the early Islamic period, and it's also the most beautiful Islamic mosaics from the Islamic civilization. And these are some pictures for the internal octagons of the mosaics. Every single octagon, the width of this picture is about 20 meters. So I have succeeded to take an amazing pictures with a very high resolution images for every single area from the mosaics, and with an amazing also drawings. And I can say today that from my survey about the mosaics of the Dome of the Rock, that from today, from this time, anything needed to be for the renovation of the mosaics of the Dome of the Rock can be found in my work. So it's a good reference for the architects and the artists who are planning to work again, to restore or to renovate the mosaics in the future. This is also an example from the internal mosaics of the Dome of the Rock. On the left side is a picture from 2020, and the right side is using the Photoshop to remove the background, just to show, to make the picture more sharp and to know the details of the decoration on the right side. And this is another image, as you see. So 1,800 square meters were documented in my work in first time in history, which I am really, I'm proud that I have succeeded to finish all this job for Jerusalem, and I think it was, if Allah, alhamdulillah, He gave me the energy to work for this work, and I have succeeded. And this is alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. I'm very pleasant and happy to show or to document for Jerusalem all these pictures and works. This is another picture from the mosaics from the upper drum of the Dome of the Rock, and you can see the beauty of the early Islamic decoration using the techniques of it's not natural, it's not it's something from the heaven. I don't know, it's an amazing, it's you don't see all this, it's the decoration, it's, I want to say, it's between something original and something not original. So these images you can see, it's really from the early Islamic type of arts. And the Muslims in the first century, from the Umayyad period and from the period of Abd al-Malik bin Marwan, who founded the Dome of the Rock, they had shared values with Christian artists. So because, as you know, the Muslims or the Umayyads, they came from Quraysh, they came from Mecca, and they established this great civilization in the Umayyad period. But they did not have in their first days the experience to build all this type of decoration and design and art. I think they have found some supports from Byzantine artists, and now we will go, after a while, we will see the other the shared values between Islam and Christianity, and the values, also the shared values between the arts in Jerusalem and Damascus and other places. So these are the internal of the art, the mosaics art. Also another pictures, more pictures from the internal octagon and from the upper drum. This is the upper drum of the Dome of the Rock, and these are more examples from the upper drum describing or showing the mosaics. More pictures, as you see. The work was very complicated, and it had a rich information about about the origin of the mosaics and the beauty of the mosaic, the golden mosaics with the mother of pearl that used to decorate the internal of the Dome of the Rock. These are the palm trees inside the Dome of the Rock from mosaics, and these are another examples from the palm trees, which shows that the origin also of the Arabs are from Arabia. So the palm trees describes also the origin of Arabs and Muslims. These are another pictures for the mosaics. Other trees, the nature of Palestine. More, you see here the dates below the palm, and other pictures. So 1,800 square meters were documented as you see. Every single distance appeared in the mosaics in the internal of the Dome of the Rock was documented. Now we are also stay inside the mosaics, showing the beauty of the mosaics from everywhere from the Dome of the Rock. And these pictures, as I told you, first time published. The image you can see now here is we are now standing, imagining that we are standing below the arches of the Dome of the Rock that's supporting the ceilings. So these are examples of 8 examples of 24 arches decorated with golden mosaics. And from these pictures, we can see the fruits that decorated in the mosaics or drawn in the mosaics according and mentioned mentioned from the Holy Quran. So these are the dates, and these are the pomegranates and the grapes. And this is also a picture from San Vitale in Italy. It dates back to the 5th and 6th century. So this is before the construction of the Dome of the Rock. And on the left side of the arch, on the left side of the image, you can see or distinguish the arch, and the decoration of the arch is really similar to the decoration of the arches inside the Dome of the Rock. And this is an example from the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem, but this is later, because this mosaics were made in the Crusader period in the 11th and 12th century. But the Dome of the Rock the mosaics was made in the early Muslim period. I'm talking about the 9th century, 8th and 9th century. This is an example from the Aqsa Mosque building. On the top of the arch, before 100 years, the Ottomans, there was another picture for the Aqsa Mosque arch, but with an Ottoman marble, with Ottoman drawings and decorations. But during the 1924, when the Muslim Islamic Foundation with Al-Hajj Amin al-Husseini renovated the Aqsa Mosque from inside, they removed the plaster and they found this beautiful Fatimid mosaic. And it is also similar to the mosaics of the Dome of the Rock. Another example from the Umayyad Mosque in Damascus. It is later than the mosaics from the Dome of the Rock, but supposed to be the same school. The third volume was the Aqsa Mosque, or the Treasures of the Aqsa Mosque, Kunuz al-Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak, and the same, the third volume published in the same size, A3 size, with beautiful also the documentation. And now we are standing in front of the Islamic Museum of the Aqsa Mosque, which contain a really amazing collection of the Aqsa Mosque from the history of the Aqsa Mosque. These are, this is on the right side is a burner. Dates back to the Mamluk period by the Sultan Juqmuq, the Mamluk Sultan, and on the left side is the lamp with the logo of the Prince or Tenkiz al-Nasiri, the governor of Jerusalem and Damascus, and it goes back to 1336. So these are some masterpieces from the Aqsa Mosque, and these are burners also from silver burners from the late Ottoman period by Sultan Abdul Hamid II, and we can see an Arabic inscription showing the endowment of this candle. Okay, and these are some burners on the left side and tray from the right side from the 18th century found in Jerusalem. Other astrolabe from Jerusalem, also from the 18th century, with these seals found in the Aqsa Mosque, belong to a traditional family from Jerusalem called Al-Ansari family. They used to serve inside the Aqsa Mosque, and every pilgrims come to Jerusalem, they used to stamp on their documents that you have visited the Aqsa Mosque, and this is the stamp containing the description or describing the most important places supposed to be visited or should be visited in the Aqsa Mosque. This is an example also from the wood works in the Aqsa Mosque. These two wood panels dates back to the early Islamic period with a very beautiful and amazing decoration. And I think these two examples are the oldest examples survived from the Islamic civilization, dating to the Umayyad period, and it dates back to the period of Al-Walid bin Abdul Malik. Another inscription in Persian script can be found also in the Islamic Museum, dates back to the late 19th century, describing this inscription. The four inscriptions were installed on the top of the gate of the Holy Rock inside in the Dome of the Rock, and today in the Islamic Museum. And from this amazing collection, we can distinguish also, or we can see a very old manuscript of the Holy Quran from the Kufic script, dates back to the 4th or 3rd century. This is an amazing a manuscript of Quran, and this is from the Aqsa Mosque collection also. In the same work, you can see some images about the windows of the Aqsa Mosque building on the right side, and on the left side we can see how the windows were damaged by the Israeli forces or soldiers in 2 years ago when they entered inside the Aqsa and they start shooting inside the mosque. But these pictures can present for the artists or the architects who are working on the reconstruction of the windows, can give them a great information how the windows were before shooting them and breaking them. The swords also from the Ottoman period and from the Mamluk period can be found in the Islamic mosque, in the Islamic museum. And this is an example of a sword dating back to the 18th and 19th centuries. Another swords. And a couple of days ago, I was looking for a book. I was reading a book published in England about the Romanian weapons, and I found a very similar sword to this sword in Romania, but this is from Jerusalem, this sword. So we can see how the shared values was between South and North, between East and West. The rifles also can be found in my work. This is from the 19th century, Jerusalem. And these are necklaces for ladies and women from also the 19th century. Can be found also in the collection of the Aqsa Mosque. These are the collection that published in the 3rd volume about the Aqsa Mosque. Today, I'm planning to publish in the next year, inshallah, another huge work for Jerusalem, which today this is the first time I mentioned this information. And the forthcoming project will be about an atlas of Palestine containing 30,000 unpublished maps of Jerusalem and Palestine from 92 countries from the world, according to manuscripts and according to published atlases after Gothenburg. And this is the first volume. The atlases will be in 10 volumes. So will be the ancient and medieval maps. And this is the Mappamondi collection. And the 3rd volume will be early miniatures. Then the medieval ones. Then the Portolan and Catalan charts, as well as the travels to Palestine by the travelers, how they draw Palestine in a bird eye shapes, as we see in this picture. And the antique maps after the printing start after Gothenburg. Then the topographic and geographic maps of Palestine, and in the modern maps from the late 19th and early 20th century. So this atlas will be published in 10 volumes and will contain 4,000 pages with 30,000 maps and illustrations about Palestine. Inshallah, I will start publishing the works in the coming months. And hopefully the 10 atlases of Palestine will be issued in the first half of 2024. Thank you very much, and this is everything from me. And I'm very happy today to be with you. Thank you, Taslima. Thank you, everyone. And it's a great honor for me. I'll be happy to answer any question you may ask. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Muhammad. I mean, what a journey. And I'm just sort of thinking about that last compendium you've just announced about the maps. Are those the covers? They're the new publications that are coming out. That's what they are. Is that right? So the images you just showed last, the covers of the books,
Yes, it's the covers of the forthcoming book. Yeah, the forthcoming Atlas of Palestine.
Yeah. I just want to say, you know, alhamdulillah, I just think amazing. Congratulations. That was an incredible insight, actually. There's so many questions that I have, but I know that there are some questions that people have got. And one of them is actually really about how to access the recording. So I just wanted to say that I will have the recording available to everyone who's signed up, but I also wanted to make sure that I do that after I have a conversation with Muhammad, because they, you know, this is his material. So I wanted to just clarify that, but it will be available. So there's lots of thank yous coming up on the chat, so you can have a look at those in due course. Welcome everyone, and I'm really so happy that so many, you know, it's almost full house, and the people who couldn't make it, I'm sure they're waiting for the recording. So there was a question from is it Sadiq? Please, I apologize if I've got the name wrong, but I think one of the first questions was about how to get hold of those books. So if you can explain that, please, if you can answer that.
Yes, thank you very much for this question. Usually, I have this I have this Arabian Heritage Foundation, and people, they contact us through the foundation. We have
Sorry, I think we've just, maybe there's some connection issues. So I'm just going to look through. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you see me now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you just froze for a second. They were asking for the link. Do you know what, because I know that I had that conversation with you directly, but is there a link? Because it's not available in Amazon. We know that. It's just directly available from you.
Anyone, and usually people, they contact us by Facebook page, okay, or by Instagram, or via email, and we ship our books by a DHL or by Aramex all over the world, door to door.
So what is the email? Maybe I can just type that in.
The email is MH. Okay.
Is that your email?
I will chat it now. Okay,
Yeah.
MHGHOSHEH at gmail.com. MHGHOSHSHE. I'm not wearing my glasses.
I'll do it.
Difficult to MHGHOSHEH at gmail.com. So this is the email. Okay, they can email us, and we can ship any volume they want by DHL door to door, and usually the shipment arrive within a couple of days.
Yeah, so I think I've covered the question.
We have a free ship. Usually Arabian Heritage deliver the shipments in a free shipping.
Right. There's another question saying, I wonder if Dr. Ghosheh knew Mohsin Kilby, who died before he was able to publish, I think she means, or he means, his detailed photographic survey of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Do you know of Mohsin Kilby?
And unfortunately, I didn't meet him. I knew about his work, but I didn't see the work. But I didn't meet him, unfortunately. And I'm looking forward to know more information about this.
Oh, okay. So that's maybe something to think of. I'm just running through any other questions. Let me just see. How do we study Islamic art? Islamic art is such a broad subject. Is that Nazira's answer to someone's question? Maybe, yeah?
Sorry.
So yeah, Islamic art, Well, I mean, I teach it. You can learn more about the designs from me. Nazira teaches it as well. It's a whole yes, she summed it up beautifully. It's such a vast array. It depends on what field you want to study. There's calligraphy, there's geometry, then there's the biomorphics, the floral ornamentation. So, you know, if you want to know more about that, feel free to email me or contact me. That's not an issue at all. So, Mina is asking, are your books English translation available in Jerusalem? Yes. So she's visiting Jerusalem soon. So she may be, you know,
He's
again, I think,
most welcome to Jerusalem.
yeah, and I think if you're not traveling, because you're traveling a lot, you're going to the US soon. We're really lucky to be able to get this time with you. You've just come from Amman, then Doha. So I'm really, really, you know, grateful for this time that you've given us.
And I am the one who should thank you, Taslima, for this opportunity. And yes, I travel a lot, and I'm traveling to the United States in the second half of April, and I will give some pictures in Washington, D.C. and Detroit and Chicago, as well as New York.
And that's with Sidi Safi Kaskas, isn't it? You're meeting him.
Yes,
He's
he's a close friend
incredible.
and he's a wonderful scholar.
I
Amazing.
had a question. If so again, the same question is coming up. Where can they find your books in Jerusalem? So maybe some people are planning to visit or have people there, family there. Are you would you suggest they just email you? Because that's how
Yes,
I contacted
the
you.
fastest way is to email me, or they are available also in Salah ad-Din Street and a bookshop store in Salah ad-Din called Al-Maktabi Al-Ilmiya. Okay, so this is the only bookshop store in Salah ad-Din, the main street of East Jerusalem. They are
What's it?
available there,
Okay, what's it
but
called? Al?
the educational bookshops store.
Okay.
But
Educational
the
books.
fastest way is to email me, and we deliver the books wherever the buyer or the wants us to send it, either in Jerusalem or for example, what I want to say is the person he doesn't need to come to Jerusalem to pick up the books. We deliver the books to him in anywhere in the world.
Right. Okay. There's a question from Nazira. I'd love to know a little bit about whether you found out much about the artisans themselves and their practice. Actually, that would be, yeah, that's a very good question. That would be my kind of question. Was there any documentation about who was chosen, how they were taught, what standards were expected? Was it a guild system? I think you mean like a membership system. That's if I'm getting that right. I'd love to know more. So it's about the people who actually did the work, the mosaics,
I couldn't hear you. Can you repeat again, please?
So the question was, Nazira would like to know more about whether you found out much about the artisans themselves, the craftspeople who made the mosaics, and about their practice. Was there any documentation about who was chosen to do the work, how they were taught, what standards were expected? Was it like a skill, an academy or a guild system? Yeah, just really about the artists who worked on it.
Yes. During my survey and my study in the history, I found that there were two main architects working on the construction of the Dome of the Rock, Raja bin Haywa al-Kindi and Yazid bin Salam al-Bisani. The first one is from Kinda, and the other one is from Bisan in Palestine. So they were the architects. But if from the comparing the arts or the technique of designing from in the Dome of the Rock and other monuments all over the world, for example, the mosaics, the designs in Italy, for example, we can understand that the Muslims in their earlier period, they did not have enough experience because they came from Arabia. They did not have enough experience to do an amazing project like the Dome of the Rock. It was described as the most beautiful monuments from the Islamic civilization. So they maybe got an assist from other artists from surrounding areas. What I believe is usually the civilizations in the civilizations we have shared values, and from the early Islamic period, the Muslims, they did not have the enough experience to do this major project, so they import architects from maybe from Syria, from Byzantine, from Emperor, from Roma, and they got their experience. And this is also it's يعني whatever in every civilization we can see this shared values, and even in the religions we can see the shared values. So it's not يعني I don't think it's يعني what I want to say is I can't I want to express my I lost the word that I want to talk about.
I think what you're saying is it didn't have to be just Muslim artisans. It was about who could do the best job.
Yes.
And obviously once they were trained, that would then just become a craft heritage, maybe handed down generations. So yeah, I think I get that. There is an author, Diana Dark. She's written about how actually it's the other way around. So I haven't read her book, but I want to know a little bit more. She suggests that actually the European traditions, the Western traditions actually started copying the Islamic arts and incorporating it into their architecture. I haven't read the book, but I do take that title with a pinch of salt, because I think, as you say, all great traditions had great things to learn, and you know, there was an exchange of knowledge. So I really do believe that. I think from the point of view of what Nazira and I would be interested in is really finding out, you know, so much of it is not documented about the artist. As an artist, the things that I've picked up through my training and my learning is that there's definitely this element of going into this with, you know, with the intention that it's an extension of your ibadah. So how that would have taken shape in the broad family of artisans as they started working for these amazing monuments. I had a really, I don't know if it's a bit of a controversial question, but I'm going to ask it. So my thing is, when it comes to the Umayyads, and I know that they are so celebrated for their patronage of the arts, incredible, but there's something uncomfortable inside me because I know that their lineage is from this tragedy that happens, you know, because it's the lineage of Muawiyah. So I guess what my question is what is your opinion of that? What do you think? And how do we pacify ourselves? Because it kind of makes me think,
Okay. The Dome of the Rock was built, or was completely finished in 72 Hijri. Okay. And in this date, the conflict between Muawiyah and Abdullah ibn Zubair was finished. So the function of construction, the Dome of the Rock, was not to replace the Kaaba. Okay, although the Dome of the Rock, in the first time when they constructed the dome, the dome did not contain a mihrab or a niche. Okay, because it was just a dome, like other domes, like the Dome of the Chain, like the Dome of the Mi'raj, like the Dome of the Prophet in the Aqsa Mosque compound. But the conflict was already finished, and we have just one statement from Al-Yaqubi describing this historian from the 3rd century, Hijri century. He described the reason why Abd al-Malik built the Dome of the Rock. He said to change the function of the, or to replace the Kaaba with the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. But since the building was completed after the conflict, so there was no reason to replace the Kaaba. And according to history, Abdul Malik bin Marwan, he used to go to Mecca for Hajj every year by year. So this means that Abdul Malik, he was really, he did not give this conflict his attention, a great attention, and he constructed the Dome of the Rock to show the other empires, especially the Byzantine Empire, the powerful of the Islamic civilization, the Umayyad civilization. Yeah. That's why he tried to construct a dome that is really similar to the other churches, to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre and other churches in Roma or in Byzantine. And some scholars, they said the Muslims, they used the material of the dome of the Church of Ba'labak, okay, in Lebanon. I think, as a scholar worked in the history of archaeology and architecture, I think it's not something negative to use other materials, because, as you know, all scholars, all historians, they studied the architectural history in the civilization. They know that architects, they used to do reused for the materials, for the elements, and reconstruction in the reconstructing other monuments. For example, when they constructed the walls of Jerusalem in the 16th century, okay, I know that they brought or they imported stones from other surrounded areas of Jerusalem, but in the same time they used the old stones. So the old materials can be found in the Aqsa Mosque and in Jerusalem and everywhere. For example, if you go inside the chain gate of the Aqsa Mosque, you can see on the both sides engaged columns. And these engaged columns belong to the Crusader period. But this does not mean that the gate was built by Crusaders or by Franks. It was built by Ayyubids. But they used the previous elements that they found in the area in the new construction.
And there's nothing untoward about that, because, you know, it's respecting the heritage that was there before. It's part of a bigger, larger Abrahamic tradition. It's a shared heritage. That's what I think of that whole complex. There's another question I just wanted to ask, another, and then I'm going to open it to the floor, because I would like to, if people feel like asking you directly, I'd like to do that, offer them that opportunity. So Nazira is asking another question relating to the actual patterns and the imagery. Is it just generally beautiful, or is there some sort of symbolism embedded in it? Or is that something that you haven't looked into? Any connections to Quranic ayat? Any depictions? Well, I think some of the images already related to heaven, like the mosaics and the fruits. But is there any reference to the Isra and Miraj, for example? So is there generally any symbolism from the arts?
The arts that can be found from the early Islamic period, it shows the heaven and it does not show anything belonging to something natural, or that anything belonging to something in planet. Okay, the artist, he wants to create something extraordinary. Okay, because if we see the facade of the Umayyad Mosque and compare it with the internal decorations of mosaics in the Dome of the Rock, we see that the artist, he used material. He drew the scenes from the surrounding environment. they draw the trees, the fruits, and if we go outside to the palace of Hisham bin Abd al-Malik, or the Al-Walid al-Thani, the second Walid Khalifa from the Umayyad period, we see also they did not only focus on something from the heaven. No, they also draw something belong to human drawings. And this, it opens the door for us to study the history of early Islamic art. That why the Khalifa, the Umayyad Khalif Hisham bin Abd al-Malik, owned in his palace drawings and statues from humans. Even the artists, they made a statue of Hisham himself. So
Right.
really, I think Creswell, when he wrote his early Muslim architecture, he tried to find the roots and the origins of the other or the shared values with other civilizations or other architecture or the previous architecture of Islam. In Palestine, in Jerusalem, the architects, they focused on the nature of Palestine and the nature of Jerusalem, and they want to be religious, more religious in their drawings. That's why they focused on the fruits that mentioned in the Holy Quran.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think that kind of answers the question. And also, I think there is, but interestingly, she's asking about any reference to Isra and Miraj, and I don't think there is. Is there?
I'm sorry, I didn't answer that. No, there is. Yes, there is. The reference in the Isra and Miraj, we can see it in the elements that found in the early Islamic architecture of the Aqsa Mosque. But we found the references in Jerusalem traditions or Jerusalem manuscripts.
Right.
There are many manuscripts from Jerusalem heritage also, not only from the other manuscripts in all over the Islamic world,
So
but
it's
from
not,
Jerusalem.
sorry, so it's not necessarily the building, but
Not necessarily the building at all, yeah.
together the tradition of Jerusalem and the many disciplines, you know, the writings.
But the only site is the cave. The cave. And
Yeah.
you know, there is the hole at the middle of the cave where the Prophet, he went to heaven, or he fly to heaven from the hole. And according to the Muslim tradition, Prophet Muhammad, he prayed with all the prophets inside the cave. And today we call this cave is the cave of the Mi'raj. So this cave is just below the dome of the rock. And as we know, when Al Khalifa, the Umar ibn al-Khattab, the second Khalif, he came with Sophronius, the Patriarch of Jerusalem, and they visited the Aqsa Mosque. He asked him, Sophronius, he told him, I wanted to show you where is the holy rock where Prophet Muhammad fly to heaven from there. So he went there and he saw the cave, and after that, the Muslims, they gave a great attention to the Aqsa Mosque, especially after Umar ibn al-Khattab's visit. They built a small mosque to the south of this cave, and the Bishop Arnold, okay, when he visited Jerusalem in the 50 Hijri, okay, he stand on the top of the Mount of Olives, and he looked to Jerusalem. So he saw the fortification or the walls of Jerusalem, and above the walls he saw the gamelon of the Mosque of Umar. So he said this mosque was built for 3,000, estimated 3,000 prayers, and it was from a wood. Then the Umayyad, when they came to Jerusalem, as you know, the Umayyad Khalifs, they were chosen as a Khalif for Muslims in the Aqsa Mosque. From Muawiyah to Abdul Malik to Al-Walid, all of them, to Sulaiman bin Abdul Malik, who established also the city of Ramla in Palestine. The Umayyads, their project was a very huge project. It was not only the Dome of the Rock or the Aqsa Mosque building. They built a big complex in the Aqsa Mosque. So on the eastern side of the Aqsa Mosque, they built or they opened the double gate, or Bab al-Rahma wa Tawbah, which is the Golden Gate. We call it the Golden Gate. And the Golden Gate is the only, is the second only example from the early Islamic architecture still survive today. It's Umayyad. And the technique of the columns you see today and the decoration is really typical to the Umayyad period. And we don't have any reference from the, or any records from the sources telling us that this gate was collapsed or reconstructed during the Islamic period. So it is typical Umayyad still until today.
Thank you. I'm just going to see, there was something else. So we've covered the how do we buy, and then, yeah, my question was actually, you've nicely led to it. Can you just briefly tell us about the difference between the actual Al-Aqsa Mosque and then the Dome of the Rock? Because it is all in one complex. So for anyone wanting to visit, you know, sometimes we get confused and we get told, that's not Al-Aqsa Mosque. Al-Aqsa Mosque is over there. So yeah, just if you could just give us a little description of that.
Yes, with pleasure. Okay, the Aqsa Mosque that mentioned in the Holy Quran is the whole compound. So we are talking about 100. It's the whole compound, and this compound, it's we can go to the Aqsa Mosque from 13 gate or 13 entrance. One of the entrances today, the Israelis, they took the keys of the entrance and they forbid Muslims or Arabs or Palestinians or Jerusalemites to go in through this gate called the North Africans Gate or the Moroccans Gate. They took the keys since 1967. So the visitor to the Aqsa Mosque supposed to come to visit under the umbrella of the Awqaf, the Jordanian custodianship. Okay, and inside the Aqsa Mosque, which I say it's the whole plaza or the whole compound, is the Aqsa Mosque that mentioned named in the Quran. You can see the Dome of the Rock in the middle, which is the oldest Islamic monument survived today, built by Abdul Malik bin Marwan. Then to the south is the Aqsa Mosque building, or Al-Musalla al-Qibli, which was built by Al-Walid bin Abdul Malik, the son of Abdul Malik. Okay, and many other monuments can be found in the same compound. So when the Aqsa is mentioned in the Quran, there was no buildings, because the buildings had been built on the ground of the Aqsa Mosque. Today there are porches and porticos to the west and to the northern side of the Aqsa Mosque, and in the middle there are the Dome of the Rock on the plaza of the terrace of the Dome of the Rock, and surrounding there are many water fountains, old domes, old monuments, and as well as the major building of the Aqsa Mosque building. And below the Aqsa Mosque building, there is also a passage arched with barrel arches, dating also back to the Umayyad period, to Al-Walid bin Abdul Malik. It used to be a road from the Umayyad palaces, which were discovered in 1974 by the Israelis and authorities of antiquities. And they said at the beginning, oh, we discovered something belonging to the first temple. Then they found this is early Umayyad palace, and this is the palace or the residence of Al-Walid bin Abdul Malik. He used to go from below the Aqsa Mosque building to the inside of the Aqsa Mosque, and that was the road from his house to the Aqsa Mosque. And this palace gives the Jerusalem more importance during the early Islamic period. He wanted to say that although Damascus was the political capital of the Umayyads, but Jerusalem was the religious capital of the Umayyads also.
Right, right. It really kind of makes me almost sort of, it's coming to the end of the talk. I'm quite saddened because it's looking to the future and seeing what's imminently under threat. Is it something that that concerns you? Because it's fantastic. The body of work means it can be restored, but the other side of that is that it's just very, very vulnerable right now. It's, I don't know, is it a UNESCO heritage site?
Yes, whole Jerusalem is a UNESCO heritage site, but today the Aqsa Mosque and Jerusalem are suffering from the last occupation in history. And people are not allowed to go to pray either in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre or in the Aqsa Mosque freely. Many Fridays or many days, people and below 50 years old, they are not allowed to go inside.
Really?
And they hide, or they book the IDs of the people before they go inside, just to make sure that they will come back from the same gate and they don't against any Israeli policy. Every day from a couple of years, the Israeli settlers goes inside the Aqsa Mosque and they do praying. Okay, and what we say, it's difficult if the Israeli settlers if they believe that this was a temple site. Okay, we say that it's difficult to change the function of any building, any religious building, any religion building after 3,000 or 4,000 years. It's very difficult today, for example, to return the church of Cordoba to be a mosque, or to change the mosque of Umayyad, the Umayyad mosque in Damascus to be a temple or a church, and to change to change the Aqsa mosque to be a temple. The Aqsa mosque is the second holy mosque in Islam since 400 years, since 14th centuries. And for Muslims, it's not only a mosque. This is the mosque where the Prophet teach us how to pray, because the praying came after the Prophet Muhammad flight into heaven, Al-Isra wal Mi'raj. And this is the first Qibla in Islam. So the Prophet and his friends, they used to pray to the Aqsa Mosque before they shift and pray to Mecca. So the importance of the Aqsa is not like any other mosque. And this is the second mosque built in Islam, because the Hadith Sharif, they say, which mosque was built first? He said Mecca, Al-Kaaba, then he said Al-Aqsa, and he said between Al-Aqsa and between Mecca and Al-Aqsa is 40 years. And this mosque, Al-Aqsa, is the only mosque named in the Holy Quran. And between Al-Kaaba and the Aqsa is not a word, is a capital. Wa min al-Masjid ila al-Masjid min al-Masjid al-Haram ila al-Masjid al-Aqsa. So we are not talking about a normal mosque. This is something extraordinary. This is something unique. This is something precious. This is something. This is the third holy mosques, because لا تشد الرحال إلا for the three holy mosques: the Masjid, the Prophet Mosque, the Aqsa Mosque, and the praying, as you know, in the Aqsa Mosque it's different than the praying in any other mosques. Okay, we have 500 hasanin. In other hadith, 1,000 hasanin. I don't think that the Jerusalemites, they can live without the Aqsa Mosque, because the Aqsa Mosque is living in their feelings, in their hearts, in their consciousness. And we can't understand the panoramic view of Jerusalem without without the image of the Dome of the Rock and the image of the Dome of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre all together. This is the mosaics of Jerusalem. And Jerusalem is a part, is living in our hearts. I belong to a family from Jerusalem. We have records since 500 years at least. And 500 years is enough, is more enough than some countries. It's older than countries that have established after
Yes.
that.
Yeah. That's incredible. Thank you. That's a sobering thought. So we just pray, we pray that Allah saves his mosque, we can try, but I just wanted to ask, I'm conscious of the time, and I just wanted to ask if everyone there, do you have any questions that you want to ask before we wrap up? Is there anyone that wants to unmute and speak and ask Professor any questions? Anybody? Looks like they're all stunned. Maybe no one has, maybe we've already covered all the questions. So is it safe for, Mina is asking, is it safe for women to travel around the complex?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course, because the Dome of the Rock is the special place for women to pray in, and the men, they pray in the Aqsa Mosque building to the south, and between the prayings, the 5 prayings, men, they can pray in the Dome of the Rock, and women, they can pray in the Aqsa Mosque building. And every day women's are more than men inside the Aqsa Mosque, because they feel relaxed when they go to the Aqsa Mosque. It's an amazing place. It's totally different than any other place you can visit in all planets.
So
you will be
asking,
comfort when you go inside. You will feel it.
Right. So she's asking, are there any time limits? She's also asking whether you can go and study the art and architecture. I think that's already, you can, you can go to any mosque normally. But are there any time limits?
They open the mosque from the praying of the Fajr till the Isha. But after that, they close the mosque. But some people, they live inside the mosque. They have their houses and properties inside or at the borders of the mosque, and their entrance of their houses are from the inside of the mosque. So they can pass inside or cross the mosque from inside.
That's incredible. I didn't know that. Okay. So I think that's... Oh, sorry, someone was speaking up. Who was that?
It's Nazira. I'm so sorry. I'm bugging with so many questions. Firstly, assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much. It's been so insightful, and like the body of work is amazing and incredible. So jazakumullah khairan, firstly, for your life's effort and work that you've gone into preserving this. But yeah, I wanted to ask 2 questions. So obviously, the reason why this site is so sacred to Muslims is because of the night of Isra wal Miraj. So I wanted to ask just from you personally, what is it like to be there on that day? And then the second question is, of the whole site, is there a particular location within it, a particular pattern, a particular sort of little tucked away corner that you find most beautiful? I mean, of course, the whole thing has been your life's work, but is there a particular part of it that holds something special in your heart? I'd just love to know. What should I go look out for when I'm there?
Great question, Nazira. Thank you.
Now?
Yes,
okay.
we can hear you.
Yes. Yearly, we visit the Aqsa Mosque in the day of the Isra wal Mi'raj, and there is a beautiful ceremony happened every year by the Awqaf, and the kashafa, or the, what they call it, the students from the schools, they dress a special dressing, and they start singing in the walls of in the streets of Jerusalem, in this ceremony. The people, they come to the Aqsa Mosque from all over Palestine, okay, and in the streets and in the market, they do this special dessert calling al-mushabbak, Mawlid al-Nabawi, and al-Isra wal-Mi'raj, okay. And for me, the most beautiful place in the Aqsa Mosque is the whole compound, because I really respect every single stone there, and I know the history of every single stone. That's why I believe every stone in the Aqsa Mosque is precious. And one day I remember I was doing my survey in the Aqsa Mosque, and I found on the top of the northern portico there, and a Fatimid inscription describing the dimensions of the Aqsa Mosque. And I read about this inscription in a Persian traveler came to Jerusalem in the 1047, before the Fatimid earthquakes. So I went to the engineer of the Awqaf. I told him, listen, there are some cables on this inscription. It's not clear enough, but the inscription, I found it. And I went with the engineer, and he saw the cables there, and he removed the cables. And today the inscription is documented again. So every single stone is very precious, very important, because Aqsa is the Aqsa. And Jerusalem without Aqsa is not Jerusalem, and Palestine without Jerusalem is not Palestine.
Well said. Yeah, totally. So I think we're going to have to wrap up unless someone else has got a last question. But I just wanted to say, Professor Muhammad, I cannot explain what absolutely mind-blowing session it has, because I've learned so much, and really to get the insight, and also your life's work. It's a really, that in itself is epic, actually, to see someone's journey and how dedicated you were. And I just wanted to say thank you, just as a Muslim, as just someone who is so passionate about heritage, to just see that someone has prepared this life's research for future generations, and, contemporary people like me who would be really, benefited by it. So I'd like to thank you for this session. And thank you to everyone who's joined. And I'll hopefully see you soon on the other side. I just wanted to say a little bit about the course that accompanies this. It's actually called The Patterns of the Prophet's Mosques. And as I said, I journey through 4 different mosques. I'm keeping it within the main prophets. Of course, Rasulullah, and also Prophet Ibrahim and Yaqub alayhi, and the Masjid Ibrahim, which again is also a contentious mosque because it's the cave of the patriarchs. So it's shared between the Jewish worshippers and the Muslim worshippers. So that I know that there's some restrictions there. But this is a 4-week course, and it runs, well, actually it starts today, and then we start the drawing next week. Runs up to the end of, well, actually the beginning of March now. We're drawing specific patterns from the sacred holy sites. And within that, drawing the simple patterns, I will sort of engage within the symbolism, if there is any. There's not always, that's not always the case. We don't want to over symbolize and over philosophize, but we want to keep it as almost like a sacred artist's pilgrim through those mosques. So if you're interested, please feel free to email me at art@traditionalateliers.org, or you all have my contacts here, and I'll post it on the link once I prepare the recording. So that kind of just wraps it up. I wanted to thank you, Professor Muhammad. Thank you so much. This has been a real journey. And any last words? Other than that, we can just say Assalamu alaikum and end the meeting. So over to you, Professor.
Thank you. I am the one who's supposed to thank you for your kindness. And I'm really appreciating your everyone today. It's my duty to present Jerusalem for everyone in the world and to tell them the truth history of Jerusalem and Palestine. And hopefully, inshallah, we can meet in Jerusalem very soon. And if I am here in Jerusalem, anyone is most welcome to call me, and I will take him with me to visit the Aqsa Mosque.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you very much. And thank you to my moderators, Nasira and Zahra. Thanks for monitoring everything. And I'll just say goodbye to everyone. Take care. And inshallah, see you soon. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you.